with some questions and just kind of get your input on the project. We're going to probably start with Chris. And Chris, would you just quickly explain the project that you did with your students?
Sure. I collaborated with my partner because I'm the gifted intervention specialist and I travel between buildings. So I worked with a fourth grade teacher and we did a mythology project. And we had the kids study some myths from different cultures and then write their own myths. And then we created slideshows with sort of a visual storytelling that we shared with other classrooms.
Great, great. Brandy and Maureen, what was your project?
We're going to have a new building or a new pre-to-3 building in a couple of years. And so we put our kids to the task of planning what makes a good classroom, a good learning environment. So we did a lot of research and that led to each team coming up with a question of their own that they researched.
Great, great. And now, Brandy, you and Maureen work together then?
Yes.
Great, great. And Kevin?
Yes, I'm the technology director, so I didn't actually teach anything. So.
Do you remember what? Now, Kevin's with?
Lancaster.
Okay, so Kevin and Brandy and Maureen? No.
No, Kevin's teachers they haven't been able to attend, but he worked with Matt and Kelly.
Yeah, Matt Gillespie and Kelly Marvin.
Something's going on with Kelly because Kelly tried to join literally about 50 times at our 2:30 because I kept seeing her come on and go back off. And then she tried to join this one when we first started. And it looks like she tried to join about 2 times.
So tell her we're sorry. I don't know what I can do to help, but maybe she just tried again.
Double, she went back on and back off again. She must have known we were talking about her digitally. So the folks that are here, and Kevin, you can jump in on here too. When you think about what are some things that came out as far as what the students thought of the project, good and bad? What were some things that you can say students said, wow, they really thought this was cool, or hey, boy, they really didn't need to do this? What are some things? And I'll go to Brandy and Maureen.
Go ahead.
What did your students think of the project?
I think we feel like there was very little negative to say about the whole thing. It was positive all around. If we had to pick at something, it would just be, I think for me, it was hard to keep it tucked in and it just wanted to kind of keep unraveling, and there were so many different directions we could have taken with it. They really ran with it, so that was probably the most challenging, was keeping it in a time frame.
And typically, as teachers, you really didn't have anything else to do other than this project, right? I mean, it's really a lot of it's been a slow year this year, really nothing new going on, so okay.
So what was, if I can ask Brandy and Maureen, did you hear any specifics or anything so surprising from the student perspective of what they did like about the project?
They didn't or did?
Did. What things they did? Because I heard you say it was positive, but is there anything from the student's perspective that you can offer that you got to observe maybe was unexpected?
One of the things that was very unexpected for me was that some of my students who are usually more passive became leaders in this project. And the ones who were leaders were happy to take a more passive and a direction-taking role.
For tomorrow?
Right.
What do you think? Do you have any insight as to what helped those passive students become active?
I think the nature of the learning activity, they had ideas, and then as they started to bring those ideas up, other students suddenly became interested and just kind of took a secondary role and let those students talk. And it gave them more confidence. As everybody started to listen to them, they started to come out of their shells and really have some great things to say.
I'm busy writing things down.
How about you, Chris? What was some student observations that you heard?
I think for us, the big surprise or the things that the kids liked best was the technology component. We used Google Drive to write the stories, and kids had never ever used that before. And so the share feature was just blew their minds. They just could not believe that they could write something together and be in a different room and do that. And we had kids work overtime on these stories because they were so motivated by the technology component. And, one quick story, maybe my partner shared this with you earlier. The day we were going to work on the stories, a child went home sick in the afternoon. But we were in the computer lab, and his partner said, "Oh, look, Luke's here." And so he had gone home sick, but managed to fire up the computer at home and join in with us because he was just so interested in it. So that was really, really wonderful for us as teachers.
That's great. That's great. Kevin, any observations that your teacher may have shared with you about the students' perceptions of the project at all?
Not really. I know that they've really had a good time with it. I think the students really, when they get involved in projects like this, their learning gets a lot deeper. And I know that in the videos that I've watched that they submitted, I think that was the most obvious thing to me, that the learning is so much deeper.
That's great. So let's ask the question. We're at a point, I always call it the shampoo approach, because we're going to do a lather, rinse, repeat again. So we're thinking about doing this project with other school districts. So I guess we're looking at all of you to say if there was something that that we should keep or model, or what are some things that jump out as far as the project itself that you would say, man, make sure the next time you do this, you keep it, or hey, you know what? Why don't you make sure you do this differently? What are some observations? And hi, Tricia. Tricia, can you hear us? We can't hear you yet, though. I can see your.
Can you hear me?
That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. Tricia, you're
Great.
from where?
I'm sorry, what?
Where are you from, Tricia?
That's awkward being on camera doing that. I'm in Ross Local Schools. Our elementary school is letting out, so it's really loud here.
Okay.
So
Thanks for joining us. Hang on just a second then, and you all get caught up.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
We're just asking a series of questions of folks. But I just threw the question out, if we were to repeat this project again, what are some things what parts of the project would you say, absolutely, let's keep that in, or hey, why don't you change this? What are some thoughts? Anyone just jump in. Your mics are all on.
Well, definitely keep the technology component, because that was the motivating thing for our students. I know one thing my colleague and I felt inadequate with. Are you still there?
Yes.
Right, my screen disappeared. Shoot.
Well, while Chris is working on getting her screen back up, we'll come back to you in a minute, Chris, okay? Is there someone else that wants to jump in? Tell us what you liked best about the project and what changes you'd like to see, or you might recommend.
I'll add one. I think having the last two videos, if we could have combined the reflection video along with the kind of synopsis of how everything went. I'm trying to remember back. I think for us it almost felt more natural as we were going through having the teachers, interviewing the teachers, talking about, even just when we did the actual lesson of the PBL with the lesson plan and filming the kids, it felt more natural to us to just add a little bit on the end of that video as far as the reflection piece and answering some of those questions, and to make a whole separate video for that. So I don't know, maybe consider that in the future.
Okay. any parts you want to make sure we don't change?
I would make sure you keep stressing that storyboard, because I kept forgetting about it, and then I would remember we were supposed to do it, and it helped me refocus and remember what I had to do. So going back to that original day and the plans and sitting down and doing the storyboard really helped.
The website was really helpful too, to be able to go back and reference all the things that you guys had posted throughout. Just anytime I had a question or wasn't sure what we were supposed to be doing next, that whole website setup was really nice. And your upfront professional development with the project-based learning was helpful. Coming from Ross, we're pretty new getting into the PBL lessons, so all of the help that you guys gave with the training and what PBL is really helped us to get started with it.
Great. Now we've got to quit talking about Chris because she's back. So.
Yeah, sorry about that. It kicked me off.
Chris, what are some observations? We were asking the group, some things to keep, some things that you experienced with the project, some things you could maybe do without with the project.
Oh, yeah, I think what I was talking about before I disappeared was my partner and I just felt shaky on the PBL component, and the training we got down in Columbus was good, but I almost wish that someone had sat down with me and helped me write it, just get started a little bit to make sure I was going in the right direction. And I forget her name, Charlene. I'm sorry, Charlene did do a site visit, and she was very helpful, but that was after we had gotten started. So I guess that was just my own insecurities of having never done this before. But the one thing I would keep definitely is the technology component, and I really felt that the support you provided was tremendous throughout the whole project. I believe I heard the lady from Ross say that the website was very useful, and I think everything was outlined very clearly and with a decent time frame too.
What are some takeaways that you think you're going to take back to your classroom when school starts back next year? Are there any?
One of the things I noticed, I'm the tech integration specialist, so I'm not actually in the classroom, but I worked pretty closely with my teachers. The amount of interest the kids showed by doing the project-based learning was so much higher than just doing a regular traditional lesson. And I think that's what both of my teachers were saying too, is they put so much more effort into it and really felt like they learned the content a lot better doing that type of project rather than just doing a quick couple day lesson and moving on from it. So the kids really enjoyed it. They put a lot of time and energy into it, and like I said, they really felt that the students learned the content a lot deeper that way.
Brandy and Maureen, you similar or?
I agree, and I think that one of the valuable pieces for us was that presentation. We actually had a speaker come in, one of our community members, Brandy's husband, and he's the village planner, and he talked to them about the kinds of things he looks for when somebody proposes something to him, and the kinds of things that he keeps in mind when he's making a proposal. And they took that very seriously, and I think that helped to boost their egos a little bit and help them to feel like they could do so much more than they thought they could before. I really was happy to see that.
So almost a real world application in your case. I mean, it was really, this is the way it's going to be in the real world, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
That authentic audience piece was huge for us too. The students, they weren't used to that. We did a third grade class and a high school class, and they're used to their teachers being the audience and maybe their classmates, but that's it. And having their work posted, we did QR codes in the media center for book reviews, and knowing that the whole school was going to see those in the elementary, and then we actually did flyers for the counselor's office and some other resources for the high school. And like I said, just that authentic audience piece was huge for our students, knowing that a bigger audience was going to see it and that they really wanted to do a good job for it.
I agree with that. That was huge for my kids as well.
Kevin, can I pick on you? I don't know if you've heard any feedback from your teachers, things that went well or things that maybe they weren't as thrilled with.
You see, the two teachers that we had involved in the project have been doing PBL for 3 years now, so it really wasn't that much that they didn't know going into it. So I think they Actually, I just spent all day with Kelly Marvin today doing a PBL. I was a grant reader on a committee, on a fictional committee for another project she was doing, similar to the one video you showed us at the first meeting. So for those two, they really just do it a lot. I think for our district, if we were to be able to do this again, I would pick some different teachers who are kind of more just getting their feet wet with PBL so they can take it to the next level.
Well,
Excellent.
we'll have to
Thank you.
pick on Kelly, though, because we'll have to put together a project-based learning lesson where she learns how to connect into a Google Hangout. How's that? You tell her that, okay?
I will email her that right now.
I keep seeing her popping up here and there, so it's too bad we couldn't get her as part of the conversation. Talk about, just very quickly, if you had any problems, what problems did you have, and how did you get over those? How did you kind of get over that hurdle? Because we knew there'd be some problems. I mean, that's a reality of technology. How did you get over those problems, and what were they? I'll go with Brandy and Maureen. I'm going to put you on the spot. Or was everything great?
Okay, I honestly don't. I can't think of one major problem. There was a little.
Don't make them up.
Yeah, I had to fight a little bit with iMovie, and Maureen and I decided to work together, which created a set of problems on its own. We had to fight through the scheduling, and I'm the art teacher, so when she's free, I have her kids, and so there was that, and then it made it a little difficult to coordinate our videos and get all that kind of hammered out. So. I had to learn my way through the iPad. I wasn't real familiar with that, and making the movie and getting it edited and then sharing it and moving it from place to place. But it was not that difficult.
One thing that happened, we thought it was a great idea to do SurveyMonkey and survey some teachers who, from our building, what they'd like to have, and then a neighboring school who recently got a new building. And that seemed to be a great idea, but it really didn't fit into our project, so it just became something that was extra. So
It does sound intriguing.
it had potential, but the kids went in a totally different direction, so it was okay. That was okay.
Okay.
One of the technology issues we kind of ran into, and it wasn't really a problem, it was more of a learning experience for us, especially with our elementary. With our high school, they had been exposed to a lot more of the tech pieces by the time they're in high school. But with our third graders, we really wanted to give the students some choice in the applications that they used and the technology pieces that they used. But they hadn't, by December, they just hadn't been exposed to all of those options that we wanted to present to them. So the timeline was a little tricky for us, but my third grade teacher was awesome. She took a week. We have centers that we do in our elementary buildings. So she took a week and made one center of each week focus on the technology piece that she was going to use for the PBL lesson. So, it was for a different lesson if it was something a little bit shorter and quicker, but it exposed the students to those to those tech pieces before they had to do it for the PBL. So that was a really big deal for our students to be able to learn the technology a little bit before they actually had to apply it for the big lesson.
And Chris, what's your thoughts on that?
We didn't have too many issues with the technology itself. Our issues were more with the kids working together and cooperatively. And, with Google Drive, your sentence is typed and you love it, and then your partner deletes it. And so we had a lot of that going on and arguing over, who should write and that kind of thing. So, but that was a good learning experience for them to learn how to share ideas and cooperate and give in a little bit, learn to let go of your idea and accept someone else's. So that was a good thing.
The beauty of Google Docs revision history. I can't tell you how many times we talk to a teacher and they're frantic, and you say, go up to the top left and see the thing called revision history, and it's amazing that it's there. That's great. I love your story about the kid working from when he was homesick. So that's just a great story.
Yeah.
Those are the types of things we know are out there. It's just when we hear them from folks that we work with, that's wonderful.